Hey there, my friend. You ever get that feeling of déjà vu with this team? Like you're watching the calendar creep into summer, getting excited about the season ahead, and then boom, the injury bug strikes. Again. That's exactly where we are right now with the Dallas Cowboys. We're not even into training camp, and already warning signs are flashing. This time, it's not just a single name popping up. We're talking about multiple players at key positions starting to pile up issues. Whether it's rehabbing from surgery, being held out of early workouts, or just precautionary absences, the vibes feel way too familiar. The latest headlines are enough to make any Cowboys fan stop and ask, is this really happening again? Let's be real. Injuries are part of football. No team escapes them completely. But for some reason, the Cowboys always seem to get hit hard and early. Last season, it started before the first snap of preseason, and by the time we got into the thick of the schedule, the depth was already being tested week after week. And now, it's June, and we're already seeing names like Zach Martin, DeMarvion Overshown, Eric Scott Jr., and even Micah Parsons popping up with health concerns. Some of these are minor, sure, but history tells us that minor can turn into major real fast in Dallas. Let me ask you something. Do you feel confident the Cowboys have learned how to manage injuries better this year? Or are we just bracing for the same old story again? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I want to hear from you. And let's run a quick vote. Do you think the Cowboys will get hit with the injury bug again this preseason? Yes or no? Be honest. I'll share the poll results later in the video. Now stick with me, because up next, we're diving into the specific injury updates that have fans buzzing and coaches on high alert. Trust me, you're going to want to hear who's already in the danger zone. All right, let's get into the details. You might have heard whispers here and there, but let's lay it all out. Who's already banged up, and how serious is it? Because this isn't just about names on a list. This is about players who are supposed to be critical pieces for the 2025 Cowboys. Let's start with Micah Parsons. Yeah, that's right, Micah. He sat out OTAs with what the team called general soreness, and he's been spotted on the sidelines more than on the field. Now, that might not sound like much, but with Micah's heavy workload, any sign of wear and tear this early is a red flag. Remember, he's the heart of Dan Quinn's old defense, and now Schottenheimer is expected to lean on him even more as a leader in year 4. Next up, Zach Martin. The future Hall of Famer is dealing with off-season recovery and wasn't active during minicamp. Again, this guy's a warrior, but he's also 33 and has battled injuries the last few seasons. If he's not 100% by camp, that offensive line is instantly vulnerable. Then there's DeMarvion Overshown, coming back from the ACL tear he suffered in last year's preseason. The coaching staff says he's on schedule, but we've heard that before. If Overshown can't go full speed by August, it's a massive setback for the linebacker room. Don't overlook Eric Scott Jr. either. He missed parts of the offseason program, and with how thin the cornerback depth chart looks behind Trevon Diggs and Darren Bland, every healthy body matters. There's also quiet concern about Luke Schoonmaker, who had a slow rookie year and was spotted in a walking boot earlier this offseason. Not exactly the step forward you want to see heading into year 2. So here's the question I have for you. Which of these injuries worries you the most? Is it Micah, Zach, maybe Overshown because of what he brings to special teams and coverage? Tell me in the comments. And if you had to pick just one player who absolutely cannot afford to miss week 1, who would it be? Stick around, because next, we're talking about how the Cowboys' depth, or lack of it, could turn these minor injuries into major problems fast. Now let's say the worst happens. Some of these guys we just talked about aren't ready for week 1. What does the depth chart actually look like if the Cowboys have to go without a couple key starters? Brace yourself, because this is where things get shaky. Let's start with Micah Parsons. If he's limited or, heaven forbid, unavailable, who steps up? You're looking at Sam Williams, Dante Fowler Jr., and Dorrance Armstrong to handle the edge. All solid players, but none of them can replicate Micah's versatility, his burst off the line, or the sheer chaos he creates. That drop-off is steep, and offenses would notice immediately. Now think about Zach Martin being out. That puts TJ Bass or Asim Richards into a starting role at guard. These guys are developmental players, not plug-and-play veterans. With Tyron Smith gone, the line's already in transition. Losing Martin would put that unit in survival mode, and Prescott doesn't thrive under pressure. At linebacker, if Overshown isn't ready, that shifts more pressure to Damone Clark and Buddy Johnson. Not exactly a group that strikes fear into opposing coordinators. And with Leighton Vander Esch gone, the leadership and stability he brought is sorely missed. You're not just losing talent, you're losing the communicator in the middle. Now, let's not forget tight end. If Luke Schoonmaker's injury lingers, that forces Jake Ferguson to shoulder the entire load, with Peyton Hendershot and rookie Brevin Spanford backing him up. That's not terrible, but again, one injury away from chaos. Same story at corner. With Diggs returning from his ACL and Eric Scott Jr. nicked up, Nashawn Wright or rookie Kalen Carson could be asked to cover serious ground early on. That's a huge gamble if they're not ready. Let me ask you this. Which position do you think has the weakest depth right now? Is it linebacker, cornerback, the offensive line? Vote in the poll, and back it up in the comments. Next up, we shift to the big picture. How Brian Schottenheimer is planning around all this uncertainty, and whether his new leadership style is built to handle it. So with all this swirling, injuries, shaky depth, and some positions looking dangerously thin, you're probably wondering how new offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer is handling the chaos. Is he in panic mode? Not even close. In fact, this is where his experience really shines. Schottenheimer has been around the NFL block long enough to know that things rarely go as planned in June or even in September. And according to reports from inside OTAs and minicamp, he's already adjusting the playbook to build in contingency plans. One of his top priorities? Getting the ball out quicker. If the offensive line is compromised, either from injuries or youth, Schottenheimer is installing more quick-hit passes, shorter routes, and protection schemes that help Dak Prescott stay upright. The idea is clear. Don't ask too much of a patched-up line. Get the ball out and let your playmakers do the work. And speaking of playmakers, he's doubling down on Tony Pollard 2.0, using Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, and even Hunter Luepke in creative looks to ease the pressure on the quarterback. We're also hearing more pre-snap motion and RPO looks, trying to keep defenses guessing and avoid exposing weaknesses in the trenches. Now let's talk about the defense. Schottenheimer might run the offense, but he's fully aware that this team's identity could be shaped by the Dan Quinn-style defense that's still evolving under Mike Zimmer. That's why there's an emphasis on ball control and field position in Schotty's approach, so the defense isn't stuck bailing out the offense every other drive. But here's the most important piece: player empowerment. Schottenheimer is reportedly working closely with Dak, ceedee, and the veterans to build trust and autonomy. If someone like Zach Martin or Tyron Smith isn't 100%, he wants Dak and the line to have the flexibility to shift protections and adjust on the fly. That kind of preparation only comes from a coach who plans for turbulence. Now let me throw this out to you. Do you think Schottenheimer is the right leader for this kind of adversity? Drop your take in the comments and vote in the poll. Coming up next, we're wrapping it all up with a reality check. How should we, as fans, really feel heading into training camp? All right, so now that we've walked through all the ups, downs, and wild cards surrounding the Cowboys' current situation, let's take a step back and ask the big question. What should you, as a fan, realistically expect as we head toward training camp? First off, let's be honest. This roster isn't complete. Not yet. There are too many open questions at offensive line, cornerback depth, and yes, even wide receiver. And with how things are trending, I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas makes at least 1 or 2 veteran signings before August rolls around. Maybe a backup tackle or even another safety to shore up that room. But at the same time, this isn't a blow-it-up situation either. There's still a core here that can win games. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, Zach Martin, Trevon Diggs. Those aren't just good players, those are franchise-caliber guys. The pieces are there for a playoff team. The issue is whether the supporting cast can step up in time. The truth is, training camp will be everything. That's where we'll see if rookies like Tyler Guyton can hang with NFL speed. That's when we'll learn if DeMarvion Overshown is ready to start. And that's where Brian Schottenheimer's adjusted offense will either sink or swim. It's all about development and staying healthy at this point. But I'll leave you with this. It's okay to feel uneasy right now. This part of the offseason is always a little messy. The key is whether the front office and coaching staff respond to the signs, make the right moves, and get this team ready by week 1. So here's my final question for you. Are you confident the Cowboys will pull it together in time for the season opener? Or are you more nervous now than before? Drop your comments below, cast your vote in the poll, and let's see where the fan base stands. And don't forget, this channel is your spot for real-time updates, breakdowns, and honest conversations about everything Dallas Cowboys. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next video. Let's ride this season out together.